Cooking with Cori. I am your host, Chef Cori Dern, and with me is the fabulous and my dearest friend, Mark Hajek, Beer Sommelier Extraordinaire.
How are you?
I'm great.
I'm happy to be here.
I'm so happy that you're here. At first I thought you said I'm happy to beer here, but I'm happy to be here.
I'm happy to be here,
yes,
too.
I am happy to be here. I know the folksy wokesies are excited because today we are cooking with beer. And not just any kind of beer, craft beer.
Absolutely, yeah.
And you folksy wokesies at home are super lucky, as I am, because Mark here is a beer sommelier. He and I have been friends for over 30 years. He is also a foodie. And together we have created a recipe that incorporates cooking with beer and enjoying it with a beer.
Absolutely.
Yum. So what are we going to be making for you?
We got a beautiful pork belly here. I'm going to marinate it in a fantastic craft beer from Toronto, from Godspeed Brewery.
Lovely.
It's a porter, so it's going to have all these beautiful, rich umami type flavors to soak into the pork.
Fantastic.
And then we'll dress it up with some other goodies.
Yeah, I'm going to say this. You guys are kind of in luck because we have always wanted to work together and cook together. And so we were thinking, what's something that would be a really great recipe that utilizes beer, not just as a flavor profile, but as a tenderizer. And pork is just perfect for that. So you picked up some beautiful pork belly.
I did.
And you have chosen a beer based on the flavor profile that we want to do. Now, if you didn't go with a porter and we went with a different beer,
right,
then we would be looking at a totally different kind of flavor profile for this.
I think so. For me, the pork is such a versatile tabula rasa. You can impart a whole ton of flavor onto it with just about any style. But the richness and the malty sweetness of the porter will bring out a really nice flavor from the pork, and then in combination with all these other ingredients like garlic and ginger and sesame oil, and it's going to be great.
Okay, so I just have to contain my drool for a sec. So, yum. So what we thought we would do is we're going to use the beer as a marinade. And when we were talking about this, the interesting thing about using beer as a marinade is to keep in mind the same thing that you would when you're using an acid or a citrus as a marinade. They start cooking things. Anything that has a high high acidity, I should say, will start to cook it. And in this bowl here, we actually have 2 slices that you marinated for how long?
About 90 minutes.
90 minutes, yeah. And I wouldn't go over 2 hours when you're marinating with beer, because what will happen is it'll start to turn this into mush. You'll get really a papery kind of feeling, to like almost like paper mache kind of texture, and that's no good. You just want to marinate for about an hour and a half, 2 hours max, when it's a beautiful 1-inch thick cut. Because what it's going to do is it's going to tenderize it, and it's also going to infuse it with the flavor that you chose with the beer that you chose.
Yeah,
so
the porter's a deeper, richer, sweeter, maltier flavor as well. So the acidity is low to begin with, and it wouldn't burn the meat as much as something that has a high citrus profile.
And I can totally smell it. It has a really good flavor. It doesn't have that raw porky flavor. But if you can look at here, you can completely see what has been marinating for an hour and a half versus what we haven't even started marinating. We've decided to keep it all in here so that we can have the pork have that nice tenderness to it. And so what I'm going to do is put the pork all together in the bowl.
Should I get the beer on there?
Yeah, get the beer on there. And also, what made you think about it? Because you really turned me on to beer.
Well, being a sommelier is not just knowing about beer, but knowing about pairing and combining flavor profiles from beer along with food to either cut, complement, or contrast those flavors.
Right.
And so, with something like this, this porter style has all those really nice, rich flavors, and at the same time, there's an element that cuts the fat as well. So, and then later on, when we actually eat it after it's done, we'll go with a different beer that will support the whole meal in a different way.
Right. Because a lot of people, when they think about pairing with alcohol, of course, wine is the first thing, or, some liqueurs, or, like a sherry, or kind of what would you call that? The high concentrate of sugar kind of.
Yeah, like almost a digestive or an
Yeah.
aperitif or something. Yeah.
But how lucky are we to now live in an age where we have all of these incredible craft beers around us, especially here in Ontario, and the different flavor profiles. I'm just so impressed with it.
Yeah, there's over 290, I think, somewhere around there.
Wow.
Ontario craft breweries.
Only 290 Ontario craft beers. Yeah.
And I brought the Kamuri from Godspeed in Toronto. They consistently, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, that's really nice.
Yeah, it's got a great, it's got a great deep richness in it, and you can almost smell caramel and even like tinges of licorice. It's got a really, really deep umami kind of sensibility to it.
I love that, because we're going to be pairing this pork belly in the second segment when you guys come back. We're going to be pairing it with a Fennel and Apple Slaw, and Fennel has those licoricey notes, and so you can see how the harmony of the flavors, you know, the beer in this pork dish is going to have a little bit of an Asian flair, and you know, Mark was saying that we have soy sauce, we have oyster sauce, ginger, garlic, sesame seed. Those are really deep umami flavors paired with a really deep umami beer. You can even see it like, oh, it's like just going to work right now.
It really is. Yeah, there's a sparkle factor. It's pretty dynamic. Yeah.
Look at it go, eh?
Look at it go.
I feel like talking in a Canadian accent when I'm drinking beer, eh?
Well, you know, beer and swine.
I dig it. I dig on pig.
It's back up the swine truck.
And the thing is, and I love this, is that while it's marinating, we're going to let it marinate, the one that we had marinated, just a little bit, you know, while we're in break. Because once it's marinated and once it's tender, you're breaking down the fat, as Mark was saying, but also you're tenderizing the meat so that when it does hit that grill, it's going to get nice and crispy and juicy. And I got to stop talking about it because I'm, you know, speaking moistly now. But the great thing about this beer is I love that you pointed out the notes. When you're choosing a beer to marinate, whether you're marinating chicken or beef or doing like shrimp tacos or anything like that, think in mind what your other flavors are going to be in that dish. What do you have on hand? What's available? And then taste the beer. Don't just go, oh, this looks good.
Oh, I should have poured some for you on this, but yeah.
Yeah, I can't drink it now, but I definitely will enjoy it when we're eating this beautiful pork belly. When we come back, we're going to get this baby marinating and onto the grill. So stay tuned. Yum. Back to Cooking with Cori. I'm your host, Chef Cori Dern, and with me is Beer Sommelier Extraordinaire Mark Hajek. Welcome, welcome.
Thanks.
We are cooking with pork and beer. Not just any pork, pork belly, my friends, and not just any beer, craft beer, chosen by this genius.
Oh, well.
So during the break, what we did was we took out the beer that we had marinating for about an hour and a half, the pork, marinating the beer for an hour and a half, and we patted it dry because we don't want it to be wet necessarily when it hits the pan. So now Mark has done this recipe, so he gets to boss me around a bit. And so we're going to julienne some onion.
Yep. Nice and thin. And we'll pop that into the frying pan along with some garlic.
Wonderful.
And some minced ginger.
Yum.
And we'll get that binding together nicely with a little dash of oil. And then after that, we'll...
and you want it thin, like paper thin, or?
Yeah, you know, it's kind of more delicate that way.
It's going to cook quickly.
Yeah, and it'll cook quickly too.
Right, and that's a really good point, because the thicker you cut something, the longer it's going to take to cook.
Yep.
The thinner you cut something, then you have to keep an eye on it, but you know it's going to cook quick.
Right.
There we go. And this is one onion,
Beauty.
so I've got half here for you, my dear.
Okay, great. Let me
All right,
get some
so
oil.
oil is, I think, right behind me. I had a, oh, here, right here.
There we
honey.
go. Great. Thanks.
There we go. And so I'm going to finish cutting this up. Unlike usually when I talk to the folksy woksies at home, I usually tell them to keep the root on. That's if you're doing a dice. But if you're doing a julienne, I like to do it this way as opposed to the other way. So instead of doing the half moons like this, I like to do it this way. You get a nice longer,
Perfect.
elongated. I think somebody has once said that this is the chef's cut, but
Oh, is that right? I like that.
So right now you are heating up the pan.
Yep.
And we're not going to go with an olive oil. I feel like an olive oil is just too heavy and not really Asian inspired. But you could use peanut oil.
Yep.
To go with the sesame oil if you wanted.
Absolutely, yeah.
You never want your pan to smoke. Okay. You want it to shimmer. So when you see that little shimmer, it almost looks like when it's a hot day and you're looking at the end of the road, you see that little mirage. Right. That's what you're looking for in the oil. If you want to caramelize it, then you want to hear a tss. If you don't want to caramelize it, you just want to hear a tss. So shall I plop it in the pan for you, my dear?
Lowercase.
Yes.
All right, sure.
Good.
Oil's not there yet, but that's fine.
Not, but that's all right. I'm going to pop it up to high.
All right.
And then just get this in.
Perfect, thank you.
And there we go.
You got that going. You just want these glassy. You don't want to do too much with them.
Just... Oh, so you want them like translucent?
Yeah.
Yeah, not browned or anything like that.
Nope.
Just want them soft. So that's a really important thing to mention. If you wanted it saucy and wanted it liquidy really quickly, we would add some salt to that because salt pulls out the moisture in anything that has water content, like mushrooms. You can't saute your mushrooms if you're using salted butter or throw salt in it. So for this, we're not going to add any salt yet. Our salt is going to come from all of the other aromatics.
Absolutely, yeah. And the pork's going to be going back in with that for a second round. So
yeah, so should I get the pork on the grill and get it crisping up?
Absolutely, yeah.
All right.
It's
hello, my friend.
It's beautiful meat.
Oh, it really, really is. Oh, can you hear that?
Nice.
That is a sound I like hearing.
Yeah, you can't call that bacon. That's pork belly.
No, it is pork belly. You can't even say it like, it's bacon. It's pork.
That's right. It's the kind of pork that will come back after you.
Yeah.
Look out.
I love it. And the thing about this is it is a thick cut piece of meat. So you're going to want to make sure that this internal temperature hits at least, I'm going to say 71 to make it safe for eating. But we are going to finish it up in there. So we're going to let this hang out for a minute. And I'm going to get going on an apple fennel slaw to go with it. So just like you were mentioning those amazing notes, I'm going to move this out of the way for a sec. And bring this one in. I like to keep the fronds as a garnish. It has a really nice licoricey smell to it and flavor. If you didn't want to use fennel and you wanted to use something else, go for it. I just thought that this would be a really nice combination to support the flavors.
I think so, yeah. The thing about fennel is that it's such a distinct flavor, and you've got that nice combination when it's done properly of a crunch and then it gives way to a softness inside. And so many things that come out of flavor through texture too. So, if you're just having one bowl of mush, it's chances are it's going to taste the same. But when you've got all these cross platforms on textures, it does something special in your mouth, and then the flavors start to live on their own.
I'm going to use that from now on.
Okay.
It does something special in your mouth.
Well,
it does. It makes like when you're eating something that's really delicious.
Yeah.
It changes your vibe. It makes you feel really good. You do like a little happy food dance.
Yes, the happy food dance is always one that comes naturally.
Awesome. And look at you, Mr. Flippy McFlipperson.
Oh, hardly.
That's awesome. So just like I did the onion, I'm going to do a shred on this beautiful fennel. And I'm not making it like I would just a regular coleslaw using cabbage. I am going to say this. You don't want to use fennel? Use cabbage.
Sure.
Right?
Yep.
You don't want to use apple? Use pear. It's totally up to you.
It's true. All these recipes are just a guide, and it's up to you to embrace it and make it your own.
Yep.
Ultimately, what we're doing here today, though, because the fennel has such a distinct flavor and the apple has such a forward tartness, we're not going to fight that, but we're going to support it. So the beer that we'll use in the dressing will be Dortmunder. Also from Godspeed. Luc Lafontaine is a brilliant brewer and brews many styles in a most excellent way. So I went back for that beer. It's, again, a sweeter profile beer, but it'll sit in the background. You'll have an essence of beer. It won't take away from the fennel, and it won't take away from the brightness of the apple, but it'll support it with a different kind of base umami.
I love it. And I like that if I had changed it up, like I decided to go with like a pear and a coleslaw and maybe add those heirloom carrots in it and maybe went with like a garlic-based dressing, there's no garlic in this one, you know, then the profile of beer is going to be a little bit different.
Sure, yeah. Then you could do a nice, you know, a bit of counteraction with a brighter beer like a Saison, maybe a citrus-forward flavor to contrast the sweetness of the other heirloom veg.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of ways to go. You could also, you know, use a really nice German Weiss beer. It's got, you know, hints of banana and clove and those kind of spices that can also just drive the taste of the vegetable into a different direction.
Yeah, and you introduced me to this really, I should say, we're going to save that for after the break. We could talk for hours. Stay tuned because we're going to put it all together. Yeah. Back to Cooking with Cori. I'm your host, Chef Cori Dern. With me is Mark Hajek, beer sommelier, chef. What can be better than that combo, really?
Food and beer.
Food and beer. If you look over here, look at this gorgeous pork belly. Oh my gosh. Now I'm going to say this. Unlike steak, which you should only flip once, you can go flip happy with pork belly. Sure. You want it to crisp up. You do want it to kind of pour off the fat as you go. Mark has got his beautiful julienne onions. They've got a nice little bit of color to them, but they're soft and ready to rock. So now you are going to do your
I got some soy
marinade.
sauce. Yep. Got some soy sauce, some oyster sauce, and a little bit of sesame oil.
Lovely.
I'm going to mix those up together in this little bowl here.
Yum. And that's just going to add another level of depth of flavor.
Exactly. And then on top of the onions that are pretty well glassed, we're going to get some ginger and some garlic.
Yum.
You can use garlic, but why not use fresh if you have it?
Yeah, I'm always I'm always a pro. I'm always pro utilizing things that are grown here in Ontario, especially garlic.
Sure.
Because garlic that comes from elsewhere is not tacky or sweet or sticky. It's really rubbery, and you need to use more cloves than are necessary. So while you're stirring that around, I've just cut a couple of slats of this beautiful heirloom carrot. And so I'm just going to add it for pretty color into my slaw. And then once I do that, I'm going to make my quick beer vinaigrette. And the reason it's a vinaigrette is because I'm going to use the acidity of beer and vinegar. I'm going to use, you can use apple cider vinegar for this. I should have a little bit of a sweetness. In this case, I'm going to use a white balsamic because it has a little bit of a sweetness to it. And that way I don't really have to add sugar. I can go with honey, which is going to be in my dressing.
Sounds great.
That looks and smells awesome.
Yeah, this is great. When you pop the pork in here, it just combines together so nicely. I'm going to put this cornstarch slurry. You can use this or not, but this will thicken up the sauce a bit.
Fantastic.
And how are those?
They are beautiful.
Bellies? Are they ready to go?
They are.
Are you going to come to me or should I come to you?
I say we'll meet in the middle.
All right.
Ready? Ready?
There we go.
Woo,
oh my gosh.
There's one. Stunning.
That's so good.
Two.
Yes.
Fantastic.
So we'll let these guys combine together and
hang out.
And I'll bury them a little bit in all these beautiful onions and garlic and ginger and beautiful savory sauce.
Yeah. And if you wanted it to be more saucy, stick a lid on top.
Sure.
Maybe pour a little bit more water into it because, you know, if you've added a little bit more cornstarch than water, it might become a little gelatinous. Or, dare I say it, pour a little bit of that beer that you had marinating because by cooking it, you cook off any of the rawness and you also cook off the alcohol and get that gorgeous flavor within it.
Yeah, you can't get enough of that.
You really, really can't. No, what right now, you know, I think that everybody... You know, people ask me what's my favorite thing to cook or what's my favorite thing to eat. What's your go-to drink right now as far as hops are concerned?
My go-to drink? Well, I've got the Hajek in me, the Hajek. is Bohemian and Czech. So
I love it.
I default to the Pilsner. I love a great Pilsner. It's nice and smooth. It's very drinkable. And at the end, there's always this nice little hop finish, a little bit of bitterness, makes you want another sip.
Yeah.
They're pretty low in alcohol, in between 4 and 5.5 points usually. And so it's really refreshing. And it goes with just about everything.
When we went on like a little beer taste, because we like to, do things together. In fact, we're talking about doing a workshop where we teach you about cooking and pairing with beer.
Yeah.
And if that's something that interests you, you should definitely reach out to me at chefcori.com or reach out to me at Chef Cori on Facebook, especially if you want this recipe.
Always beer at
Yes, I was just going to say.
on Instagram, yeah.
And you turned me on to this really beautiful chocolatey, like it had notes of chocolate and
Yeah.
espresso. It was so fantastic. Not only did I love the flavor of this beer, it immediately made me think, I would really love to do a tiramisu with something like this.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing too. There's so many great beers that are so versatile. You can make desserts all day long with a really good beer. And also, if you want a summer refresher or something else that's really different, I had a watermelon beet. A watermelon beet beer, from Mascot.
Because they're so sweet, right?
Just fantastic, and it doesn't taste artificial. You really get that beautiful watermelon taste out of the gate, and then it goes on to this sweet, deep root beet that finishes sweet and dry.
Yum.
Fantastic beer. So there's a lot of creativity out there.
There is, and there's so many things you can do with it too.
Absolutely.
This dressing, I'm using honey, like I said, the white balsamic vinegar. I've got some Dijon, which I really love. And now I'm going to add the absolute best part of it, which is the beer. So the beer I'm going to use for this dressing, monsieur,
is Godspeed's Dortmunder.
Right.
And again, it's something that's going to support the flavors, but not take away from them or fight them at all. So
Awesome.
It's more of a complimentary. I'll let you pour.
And I'm going to do a. Oh, that smells so good. You know what I want? I want to toast with you once this is done. Would you mind pouring a beer that you think would be a good
We've
combination?
got a great toasting beer. And again, Godspeed hits it out of the park with my favorite.
Awesome.
It's called Sklepnik. It is as true to style as you can get as far as a Czech Pilsner goes. And it's a brilliant, brilliant taste. And it will support everything in this dish.
That's awesome.
So I'll have a sip.
And what I'm doing is I'm just emulsifying regular oil in this as opposed to a heavy oil. And then absolutely coating this in my dressing. Yum!
Should we plate these babies?
I think we should.
Oh my gosh.
There we go. Thank you. And I'm going to move this out of the way. And again, if you want this recipe, you really should go to reach out to Mark on Instagram, or you can go to Chef Cori. You can go to RogerTV.com.
Sure.
Here is our gorgeous, gorgeous slaw. And these tongs are okay because the pork was cooked when I was touching it. So for those of you at home who are worried, don't. My beautiful slaw, that stunning pork.
Looks pretty good.
Thank you so much for
Cheers.
being on this show. Cheers to you guys. We'll see you next time.
Oh yeah.
That's so good. Wow.